Keycap 5 Weakness and fatigue. Yawning face. Constantly exhausted? Struggling to get through the day? There's tiredness, the kind that follows a long day at work, a restless night, or an intense workout. And then there's something else, a deep, unshakable fatigue that lingers, clinging to you no matter how much you sleep. Colon cancer feeds on the body in silence, draining its strength from within. Even before the pain comes, the exhaustion whispers. Magnifying glass. United States. The mother in New York who blamed it on life. Jessica, a 46-year-old mother of 2 in New York, thought she was just burned out. She worked full-time, took care of her kids, and managed the endless chaos of daily life. Feeling tired was normal, until it wasn't. One day, while making breakfast, she felt dizzy and weak. Her hands trembled as she held the coffee pot. She sat down, her heart pounding, her breath shallow. Doctors later discovered she had severe anemia caused by internal bleeding in her colon. The hidden blood loss had been silently draining her for months. Magnifying glass. Italy. The chef in Rome who pushed through the fatigue. In Rome, 52-year-old Marco had spent his life as a chef, working long hours in the heat of the kitchen. At first, he thought his constant exhaustion was from standing all day. But soon, it didn't matter how much he rested, he never felt refreshed. His skin turned pale, his energy vanished. Even climbing the stairs to his apartment left him breathless. A simple blood test revealed low iron levels. A deeper investigation uncovered the truth: a slow, internal bleed from a tumor in his colon. He had ignored the warning signs, until his body could no longer fight back. Magnifying glass. China. The factory worker in Shanghai who collapsed on the job. Chen, a 50-year-old factory worker in Shanghai, had always been strong. He never took sick days, never complained. But lately, he found himself struggling to stay awake. His arms felt heavier, his steps slower. His boss noticed he was leaning against the machinery, looking pale, his lips almost blue. One afternoon, he collapsed at work. Rushed to the hospital, doctors found his hemoglobin levels dangerously low. His body had been losing blood for months without him knowing. A colonoscopy confirmed the worst: a tumor in his intestine, slowly sapping his strength. Magnifying glass. South Africa. The teacher in Cape Town who thought it was just stress. Thabo, a 55-year-old high school teacher in South Africa, had been feeling drained for months. He blamed it on work stress, poor sleep, and aging. But his wife noticed he had stopped going for his morning walks, that he was napping more, yet always tired. When he finally visited a doctor, tests showed his red blood cell count was dangerously low. Further scans revealed a tumor causing slow but continuous blood loss. The cancer had been stealing his energy long before he ever felt pain. Magnifying glass. Australia. The cyclist in Sydney who could no longer keep up. Liam, a 49-year-old cyclist from Sydney, had always prided himself on his endurance. But lately, his rides felt twice as hard. His legs felt like lead, his lungs struggled for air. At first, he thought it was just aging. But then, even a short walk exhausted him. A checkup revealed the truth: his body was starving for oxygen because of internal blood loss. The culprit? A tumor deep in his colon, silently draining his energy. Light bulb fatigue is not just fatigue. Small diamond. Chronic internal bleeding. Right pointing arrow leading to anemia. Small diamond. Poor nutrient absorption. Right pointing arrow making you feel drained. Unlike normal tiredness, this exhaustion never truly goes away. If your body feels constantly weak, slow, and hollow, listen to it. Because sometimes, the first symptom of cancer isn't pain, it's silence. Keycap 6 Unexplained weight loss. Balance scale. Losing weight without dieting or exercising? The body does not simply waste away without reason. When the pounds start vanishing, when the reflection in the mirror grows thinner without effort, the body is sending a warning. Something is feeding on it from within. Colon cancer alters digestion, silently consuming energy, stripping away muscle, draining life itself. Magnifying glass. United States. The accountant in Chicago who didn't notice until it was too late. Daniel, a 58-year-old accountant from Chicago, always wore loose suits, so he never noticed how much weight he was losing. It wasn't until a friend pointed out how his face looked sunken that he stepped on a scale. He had lost 15 pounds in just 2 months, without trying. He blamed stress, long hours at the office, skipped meals. But then he started feeling weak, struggling to stay awake. By the time he saw a doctor, the tumor had already spread beyond the colon. He had been vanishing without realizing it. Magnifying glass Spain. The artist in Barcelona who thought it was just a change in appetite. In Barcelona, 50-year-old Isabel, a painter, had always been petite. One summer, she noticed she wasn't as hungry as before. She would take a few bites of food, then feel full, almost nauseous. At first, she welcomed the weight loss, her clothes fit better. But then her energy disappeared. Even holding a paintbrush felt exhausting. Her doctor discovered a tumor pressing against her intestines, blocking proper nutrient absorption. Her body had been starving, even while she ate. Magnifying glass. India. The tailor in Delhi who lost more than just weight. In Delhi, 52-year-old Ravi had always been strong, his hands steady from years of tailoring. Then, his wife noticed something. His shirts, once snug, now hung loosely. His belt, once tight, needed new holes. When he looked in the mirror, he saw his shoulders had shrunk, his face hollowed. He had lost nearly 20 pounds in 3 months. Doctors found a mass in his colon, slowly consuming his strength. His body had been fighting a battle he didn't even know he was in. Magnifying glass. South Africa. The farmer in South Africa who thought it was just hard work. Mandela, a 60-year-old farmer in South Africa, always worked under the sun, sweating away the day. He thought his weight loss was from the long hours, the heat, the physical labor. But then his hands grew weaker, his legs thinner. Even lifting a bucket of water became a struggle. His appetite was gone, his strength fading. A hospital visit confirmed the truth. His body was losing the fight against a hidden cancer. Magnifying glass. Australia. The surfer in Sydney who almost didn't ask why. Liam, a 47-year-old surfer, was always fit. When his weight dropped without any changes to his diet or training, he assumed it was just a natural fluctuation. Then his wetsuit became loose. His muscles, once firm, felt softer. A friend convinced him to get checked. A tumor had been growing inside him for months. He had caught it early, but only because he paid attention. Light bulb. Weight loss should have a reason. Downward trend. Sudden weight loss. Downward trend. Loss of appetite. Downward trend. Unexplained muscle wasting. Losing 5% or more of your body weight in a short time, without dieting, without exercise, should never be ignored. If your body is shrinking without your permission, something is taking from it. Don't wait until there's nothing left. Keycap 7. Anemia and pale skin. Drop of blood. Are you constantly tired, dizzy, or looking unusually pale? When the body loses blood too slowly to notice, it does not scream for help, it whispers. A creeping exhaustion, a fading color in the skin, a chill that never quite goes away. An unseen loss, a hidden hunger. Colon cancer does not always show itself through pain, it steals silently, drop by drop. Magnifying glass. United States. The office worker in New York who thought it was just fatigue. Emily, a 44-year-old marketing executive in New York, always blamed her constant exhaustion on work. She had deadlines, responsibilities, and stress. But then she started waking up tired. The coffee no longer helped. One morning, while putting on makeup, she noticed something odd. Her face looked pale, almost translucent. Her lips had lost their color. A routine blood test revealed the truth: severe iron deficiency anemia caused by internal bleeding. The source? A tumor in her colon, silently draining her for months. Magnifying glass. Germany. The retired teacher in Berlin who couldn't catch her breath. Marguerite, a 67-year-old retired teacher in Berlin, had always been active. But suddenly, even climbing the stairs left her breathless. She dismissed it as aging, until her fingertips turned icy, her skin lost its warmth. One evening, she nearly fainted while watering her plants. At the hospital, doctors found her hemoglobin levels dangerously low. A colonoscopy revealed a slow, continuous bleed from a hidden tumor. Had she ignored it any longer, she might not have woken up. Magnifying glass Japan. The salaryman in Tokyo who thought it was the winter cold in Tokyo, 50-year-old Daisuke commuted every morning in the packed trains. He always carried a coat, but lately, no matter how warm it was, his hands remained cold. His colleagues noticed he looked paler, weaker, slower. He assumed it was just the cold season. Then, one day, he blacked out on the platform. His iron levels were critically low. His body had been bleeding inside without him knowing. Doctors found an advanced tumor causing internal blood loss. The cold in his fingers had been a warning, not the weather. Magnifying glass Nigeria. The village elder in Nigeria who thought it was aging. In a quiet village in Nigeria, 62-year-old Baba Aid noticed his skin turning dull, his strength fading. The younger men could walk for miles, but he had to stop and rest every few steps. His heart pounded even while sitting. The local clinic diagnosed him with severe anemia, but it took months before they found the true cause, a slow bleeding tumor in his colon. By then, the cancer had spread. Had he recognized the symptoms earlier, his fight would have been easier. Magnifying glass Australia. The fisherman in Australia who didn't see it coming. Liam, a 57-year-old fisherman from Brisbane, had always been strong, his skin bronzed by the sun. But when his wife saw him shirtless on the dock, she gasped. His skin had turned pale, his lips almost white. His energy, once endless, had vanished. A hospital visit confirmed it. His body had been slowly bleeding from within. The cancer had been hidden, but his skin had betrayed it. Light bulb. When the blood fades, life fades. Stethoscope. Iron deficiency. Anemia. Stethoscope. Shortness of breath. Stethoscope. Cold hands and feet. If you feel weak without an obvious reason, if your skin loses its warmth, if your breath becomes short even when at rest, it may not be just fatigue. It may be something more. Keycap 8. Pencil. Thin stools. Straight ruler. Have you noticed your stool becoming unusually thin? A shadow moves where light once passed. A path that was once wide begins to narrow, silently, without warning. Within the body, something unseen is growing, pressing against the walls of the colon, leaving behind a mark that only the observant will notice. A stool that was once normal now emerges thin, elongated, ribbon-like. The passage has changed. The body is whispering. Magnifying glass. United States. The carpenter in Texas who thought it was just fiber. Michael, a 52-year-old carpenter in Texas, always believed in fixing problems himself. When his stool started becoming thinner, almost like a strip of paper, he assumed he just needed more fiber. He added fruits, vegetables, whole grains, but nothing changed. Months passed, and then one day, he saw a streak of blood. Doctors found a tumor pressing against his intestines, slowly narrowing the passage. His body had been giving him signs long before the pain arrived. Magnifying glass. France. The retired artist in France who noticed a strange pattern in the quiet countryside of Provence, 64-year-old Claire lived a peaceful life painting landscapes. One morning, she noticed something odd. Her stool was no longer its usual shape. It was thin, almost like a ribbon. At first, she brushed it off. She was healthy, active. But over time, the stools became even thinner, more frequent, yet unsatisfying. A checkup revealed a mass blocking part of her colon. The change had been her first and only warning. Magnifying glass. India. The businessman in Delhi who ignored the signs. Rajat, a 55-year-old businessman in Delhi, had no time to think about health. When his stool began to appear pencil thin, he blamed it on spicy food, stress, and sitting too much. Then, he started feeling like he hadn't emptied his bowels completely. But still, he ignored it. By the time he saw a doctor, the tumor had grown so large that it nearly blocked his colon completely. A simple early test could have saved him. Magnifying glass. Nigeria. The fisherman in Lagos who thought it was just a stomach bug in Nigeria, 50-year-old Chike had always been strong, out at sea for days at a time. When his stool started becoming unusually thin, he dismissed it. It's just something I ate, he told himself. But as weeks turned into months, he began to feel bloated, uneasy, unable to shake the sense that something was wrong. When he finally saw a doctor, they discovered a growing obstruction in his intestines. His stool had been his first warning, but he had ignored it. Magnifying glass Australia. The runner in Melbourne who almost didn't ask why. Liam, a 48-year-old marathon runner in Australia, was always in peak condition. Then, he noticed something strange. His stool had changed shape. It wasn't normal. It was thin, stretched out, like a strip of paper. At first, he thought it was just a change in diet. But when it didn't go away, he decided to ask his doctor. A colonoscopy revealed a tumor that had been growing, restricting the passage bit by bit. He had caught it just in time, but only because he paid attention. Light bulb. The body leaves clues, follow them. Checkmark. A tumor in the colon can narrow the passage. Checkmark. Penciled thin stools are an early red flag. Checkmark. If your stool has changed shape and stays that way, don't ignore it. The path inside your body should remain clear. If it narrows, something is blocking the way. Pay attention before the door closes completely. Keycap 9. Sudden skin changes. Face with monocle. Did you know that your skin can reflect colon health? The skin is a mirror, a canvas that reflects what happens beneath. While most people look for bruises, rashes, or acne, few consider that their skin could be whispering warnings from within. Some changes are subtle, barely noticeable. Others appear overnight, marking the body like an ancient omen. Magnifying glass. United States. The executive in Los Angeles who noticed strange patches. James, a 51-year-old finance executive in Los Angeles, was always well dressed. One morning, while fixing his tie, he noticed darkened, velvety patches forming on the back of his neck. At first, he assumed it was just dry skin. But as weeks passed, the patches thickened, spreading under his arms and across his groin. A dermatologist recognized the condition immediately: acanthosis nigricans. It can be linked to diabetes, but in his case, it was a warning sign of an advanced tumor hidden in his colon. His skin had spoken before his body ever felt pain. Magnifying glass. France. The retired teacher in Paris who found wart-like growths in Paris. 67-year-old Madame Lefebvre loved reading in her garden, soaking in the morning sun. One day, she noticed small, wart-like spots appearing on her chest and back. First a few, then many. They weren't painful, but they itched, a discomfort she had never felt before. Doctors identified it as lesser Trellat sign, a sudden eruption of seborrheic keratoses, linked to underlying malignancies. Scans revealed a tumor in her colon, growing quietly for years. Her skin had warned her, and she had listened just in time. Magnifying glass. China. The engineer in Beijing who developed soft, unusual hair in Beijing, 49-year-old Li, had always been clean-shaven. But one morning, he saw something unusual in the mirror: fine, downy hair covering his face and arms. It was soft, colorless, like the fuzz of a newborn. His coworkers joked about it, but inside, he felt something was wrong. A doctor diagnosed him with hypertrichosis lanuginosa acquisita, a rare skin reaction to internal cancer. Further tests confirmed a tumor in his digestive tract. His body had been sending signals long before he felt sick. Magnifying glass. Nigeria. The shopkeeper in Lagos who thought it was just aging. Grace, a 55-year-old shopkeeper in Nigeria, noticed that her skin was becoming rough and darker in certain areas. Her family said it was just aging. But then came the fatigue, the unexplained weight loss. A doctor identified her symptoms as a sign of an internal malignancy. A scan revealed colon cancer that had started spreading. Had she recognized the skin's silent warning sooner, her fight could have started earlier. Magnifying glass. Australia. The surfer in Sydney who almost ignored the signs. Liam, a 45-year-old surfer in Australia, spent his life in the sun. His skin was weathered, tanned, but one day, he noticed something new. A patch of dark, thickened skin appeared on his lower back. At first, he dismissed it as sun damage. But it didn't fade, it spread. Doctors ran tests and found a tumor deep in his intestines. His skin had reacted to the cancer's presence, a call for help that he was lucky to answer in time. Light bulb. The skin speaks when the body is silent. Small diamond darkened, velvety patches in body folds, acanthosis nigricans, small diamond sudden growth of wart-like spots, lesser chlot sign, small diamond fine, downy hair appearing all over the body, hypertrichosis lanuginosa acquisita. These are not ordinary changes. They are warnings. If your skin transforms in ways you can't explain, don't ignore it. Because sometimes, the first symptom of cancer isn't pain, it's what you see in the mirror. Now that you know the signs, the real question is, will you listen to your body before it's too late? Colon cancer doesn't appear overnight. It starts silently, grows unnoticed, and waits until the moment it's too late. But here's the good news. You have the power to fight back. Don't wait for a symptom to turn into a diagnosis. Take action today. If something feels off, don't ignore it. If you've noticed any of these signs, talk to a doctor. If you're over 45 or have a family history, schedule a screening. Because in the fight against colon cancer, early detection isn't just important, it's everything. If this video helped you, drop a comment below. Have you or someone you know experienced any of these warning signs? Let's talk about it, because raising awareness could save lives. And don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe for more health insights, and turn on notifications so you never miss an important update. Your health is worth it.